Dreams reflect the soul's desires. Take a deep breath. Let your thoughts settle like dust floating through warm afternoon light. You're about to step into the world of Plato, a world where dreams are more than just stories your mind tells you in the dark. They are the quiet voice of your soul. Plato believed that each of us carries three parts within us: reason, spirit, and desire. Reason is the wise one, the part of you that thinks clearly, that weighs right from wrong, that makes decisions and plans with care. Spirit is your fire, your will, your energy, your sense of pride and purpose. And desire is the part of you that wants. It wants food, comfort, pleasure, power, connection. By day, these three work together, but reason is in charge, like a gentle ruler watching over the others. It keeps things in balance, helping you stay kind, patient, and thoughtful. But when night falls and you close your eyes, reason goes to sleep. The guards of your inner city lower their shields. The gates swing open, and the wild and whispering voices of desire step out into the moonlight. In the Republic, Plato writes that in dreams, when reason is asleep, our deepest urges can rise to the surface. Desires that we keep hidden, feelings we don't fully understand. They slip past the guardrails of logic and dance freely across the stage of sleep. You've felt this before. Maybe you've dreamed of something impossible, or something you would never dare say aloud. A place that doesn't exist, a person you miss, a version of yourself you've never met. But somehow, you know. To Plato, these dreams are more than imagination. They're messages, clues about the state of your soul. If your soul is in harmony, if you live with kindness, wisdom, and balance, your dreams may be calm, clear, and beautiful. But if your waking life is chaotic or unjust, your dreams might show you that too. Plato believed dreams are like mirrors, not perfect reflections, but soft, shifting images of what lives within you. So now, picture this: a quiet, ancient city. At dusk, its walls are high, its streets orderly. But as the sun slips below the horizon, the guards slowly disappear, and in their place come dancers made of mist. Some weep, some laugh, some paint the sky with stars. They are the parts of you that reason cannot reach, and they only come out when the world is quiet. As you drift deeper into your own dreams tonight, know this: Plato would say that what you see is not random. It is you, unguarded, unfiltered, and softly, beautifully true. Let go of the need to make sense of it. Just notice, watch, and listen, because in your dreams, your soul is speaking. If we let the thought settle, here's what it reveals. Plato believed that dreams are not just passing images. They are reflections of what lives deep inside us. When our rational mind lies quietly at rest, our hidden emotions and desires are free to rise. In sleep, the soul shows us what we often keep tucked away, not to frighten us, but to gently remind us of who we are beneath the surface. Sleep weakens reason. Still resting, still drifting. Let's go a little deeper. Sleep, Plato believed, is not just rest for the body. It's a soft unraveling of the mind, a loosening of the threads that hold your thoughts together. a dissolving of the structure that reason so carefully builds while you are awake. In his dialogue, Timaeus, Plato tells us that when we sleep, the part of the soul responsible for clear thinking and logic goes quiet. It doesn't disappear completely, but it steps back. It unclasps its hands and lets go of control. And what rises in its place are sensations, emotions, memories, desires. It's a little like the conductor of an orchestra falling asleep mid-performance. Without that guiding presence, the instruments begin to play their own songs, some beautiful, some haunting, some wild and unpredictable. Your dreams become the music, a symphony written by your subconscious, without rules or rehearsal. Have you ever had a dream that made perfect sense while it was happening? But the moment you woke up, it slipped through your fingers like smoke. That's because, as Plato saw it, reason wasn't there to anchor it. Your mind was sailing, without a map, guided by the winds of instinct and emotion. And yet, there's wonder in that. Because when reason is sleeping, the rest of your soul has room to stretch, to explore, to create its own language of images and feelings. So imagine this: a great library with high shelves and glowing lamps. During the day, a scholar walks its halls, carefully reading and recording every word. But at night, the scholar dozes in a chair by the fire. And as they sleep, the books begin to whisper. Pages flutter open. Stories climb down from the shelves and walk the halls, telling themselves in new and mysterious ways. That's your sleeping mind in Plato's view. Not broken, just unbound. So as you settle in and begin to let your thoughts fade, remember, it's okay if things no longer make sense. It's okay if time feels strange, or faces blend together, or you wake with more questions than answers. Plato would say, that's the beauty of it. In sleep, you're not lost. You're exploring the parts of yourself that don't need words. Let reason rest. Let the stories wander. And let your soul dream its own quiet truths. And if we listen quietly, here's what the thought reveals. Plato saw sleep as a time when reason, the guiding light of the mind, dims. Without it, our thoughts drift, untethered, dreamlike, and free. What rises in its place are feelings, memories, and raw impressions, not bound by logic, but carried on the winds of emotion. And in this wandering, we touch a part of ourselves that we can't always hear while awake. Not lost, just unbound. The allegory of the cave. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts settle like ripples on a moonlit lake. And picture this. You are deep inside a cave, a quiet stone chamber where the air is still. You've been here your whole life, along with others, sitting in a row. Your arms and legs are bound. Your head is fixed, facing forward. On the wall in front of you, shadows dance. They flicker, stretch, and shift. Figures of people, animals, shapes. You see them every day. You give them names. You think they are real. But what you don't know is that behind you, there's a fire, and between the fire and your back are puppeteers, holding objects that cast the shadows on the wall, the shadows you've always believed to be the world. This is Plato's famous Allegory of the Cave, a dreamlike story he tells in the Republic, to explain how most people live, not fully awake, but hypnotized by illusion. They mistake shadows for truth, They live in a dream without realizing they are dreaming. Now imagine, one person is freed. They turn around. It's painful at first. The fire burns their eyes. But they see the puppets. They begin to understand. And then, they walk toward the mouth of the cave. At first, the sunlight outside is blinding. Too bright. Too real. But slowly, their eyes adjust. They see the world. The real world. Alive with color, shape, depth, and truth. And they realize the cave was just a dream, a shadow world, a sleep they've now awakened from. Plato believed most people live their lives in that cave, not questioning, not wondering, just watching shadows and calling it reality. But the philosopher, the seeker, the one who asks, is there more than this, is like the person who wakes up and climbs out. And for Plato, that is the true purpose of the soul, to awaken, to step out of the cave and into the light of understanding. So now, as you drift into your own dreams, think of the shadows you've mistaken for truth. Think of the light waiting just beyond the cave wall, and know that even in your dreams, you can ask questions, you can search for more. The cave is not a prison, it's a beginning, and waking up, that's just another kind of dream. Dreams can deceive us like the senses. Now, close your eyes in your mind and think of a moment when you were absolutely sure something was real, only to discover it wasn't. Maybe you've had a dream like that. You were walking down a familiar street, or talking to someone you've loved and lost. And in that moment, it felt real, so real, until you woke up. Plato understood that feeling well. In fact, it was central to how he saw the world. He believed that our senses, what we see, hear, taste, touch, and smell, are not always reliable. They show us things that change, decay, shift with time and mood. They feed us images, but not truth. To Plato, the physical world was like a dream, constantly moving, flickering with beauty and confusion, but always just slightly out of reach. And if we rely only on what we can see and feel, we're like someone who believes their dreams are reality. We're walking through shadows, guided by illusions. He writes about this in many of his works, especially The Republic and Phaedo, where he reminds us that truth doesn't come through the eyes. It comes through reason, through deep thought, through the quiet searching of the soul. So when you're dreaming, and your mind is creating whole worlds out of nothing, that's not so different from what happens during the day. You see things, you believe in them, but beneath the surface, they might not be what they seem. Plato might say that life itself, unless examined, is a dream we don't know we're having. So imagine this, a crystal lake at dawn. You look down and see the sky reflected on the surface, clouds floating, stars fading. It looks like a window into another world, but you know it's just a reflection. Beautiful, yes, but not the sky itself. Our senses, Plato would say, are like that lake, reflecting things that appear real, but are only shadows of the truth. And so whether you're sleeping or awake, it's always worth asking, is this real or is this just another dream? Plato isn't telling you not to enjoy the dream. He's simply inviting you to look beyond it, to wonder, to reach gently toward the light that never changes. Even now, as you rest, even here, in this dream space between waking and sleep, there may be something deeper waiting for you, something clear, still, and true. Philosophy is waking up from the dream of ordinary life. You're still resting, still floating, held softly between thought and sleep. And now we come to one of Plato's deepest ideas, that philosophy, the love of wisdom, is a kind of waking up. Most people, Plato believed, are sleepwalking through life. They follow routines, they believe what they're told, they chase pleasures, fears, distractions, all without asking, is this real? Is there more? But the philosopher is different. The philosopher is like a dreamer who suddenly realizes they're dreaming and begins to wake up. In the Republic, Plato describes this awakening as the soul's journey out of darkness, out of the cave of illusions, out of the sleep of the senses, and into the bright, blinding light of truth. It's not an easy process. Waking up never is. At first, the light hurts your eyes. It's disorienting, even frightening. But slowly, as your soul adjusts, you begin to see. Not just the appearances of things, but their true nature. Not just shadows on the wall, but the source of the light behind them. And that, Plato says, is what philosophy does. It doesn't fill your head with facts. It clears the fog. It lifts the veil. It opens your eyes. So let's imagine you're lying on a soft hillside. The stars above you begin to fade. Not because they're gone, but because a gentle golden light is rising beyond the trees. Dawn. And with that light, everything begins to change. The shadows retreat. The colors deepen. The shapes sharpen. You feel the warmth on your face, and something inside you stirs, like your soul has been dreaming all this time, and now it's finally waking. This, Plato would say, is what it means to seek truth, to ask questions, to wonder. It's not about having the answers. It's about stepping into the light, one thought at a time, one breath at a time. So even now, as you drift gently towards sleep, you are still, in a way, waking, not with your body, but with your inner self, your quiet, curious soul. Let it rise, let it stretch, let it open its eyes. Because sometimes, the path to truth begins right here, in the space between waking and dreaming. True reality is invisible. Drift a little deeper, let the edges of the world blur softly, and imagine, just for a moment, that everything you see around you is only the surface. Plato believed that the world we experience with our senses, the people, the places, the colors and shapes, is not the ultimate reality. It's only a copy, a reflection, a dream of something greater. In his philosophy, there exists a realm beyond what we can touch, a realm of forms. These forms are perfect, unchanging truths. The form of beauty, the form of justice, the form of a circle, or a tree, or goodness itself. Everything we see in this world is just a fading shadow of those perfect ideas, like echoes in a canyon, or reflections on the surface of water. A beautiful flower is only a glimpse of the form of beauty. A kind act is only a spark of the form of goodness. To truly understand reality, Plato says we must look beyond the senses, not just at what something is, but what it represents, what it points to, what eternal truth lives quietly behind its image. So imagine this. You're standing in a candle-lit hall of mirrors. You see 100 reflections. They shimmer, they stretch, they move with you. But somewhere, far beyond the mirrors, is the original light, the flame that casts all those shapes. Plato would say, don't fall in love with the reflections. Search for the source, the light itself. Even your dreams are shaped by this idea. They may seem strange or scattered, but hidden within them may be symbols from that deeper world, hints of something real that your soul still remembers. The world you see is not the whole story. It's a shadow, a symbol, a dream of something eternal and true. To Plato, the real world isn't outside. It's within. And if you let yourself listen closely, you might begin to see it, not with your eyes, but with your soul. Reason must control dreamlike impulses. Let the silence settle over you like soft linen. Your body still, your mind open, your breath slow and steady. Plato believed that the soul works best when its parts are in harmony. Remember the 3 parts of the soul: reason, spirit, and desire. When these parts work together, with reason guiding the others gently but firmly, we live a balanced life, a peaceful life, a life of clarity. But when reason loses control, desire starts to rule. And that, Plato said, is when chaos begins. Desire alone doesn't think, it only wants. It rushes toward pleasure, away from pain, without stopping to ask, is this right? Is this wise? Plato saw this imbalance clearly in dreams, because when we sleep, reason rests, it lets go of the reins, and desire is free to roam. This is why dreams can feel so intense, so strange, so uninhibited. They show us what it looks like when our inner world loses its guiding voice, not to punish us, but to remind us why that balance matters. So picture this: a ship sailing across a vast moonlit sea. By day, the captain holds the wheel, steady, focused, calm. But at night, while he sleeps, the wind shifts, the sails pull, the ship turns, carried by currents and storms, without direction. That ship is your soul, and reason is the captain. Without it, desire may take you somewhere wild, but not always somewhere true. Plato believed that dreams show us a world without reason, a glimpse of what our soul might be without balance or control. They are reminders that to live well, we must let reason lead, calmly, kindly, and with wisdom that watches even while we sleep. The Philosopher-King has awakened. The night is still, the air is quiet, and we return to one of Plato's most powerful ideas, that most people are asleep, even when their eyes are open. In the Republic, Plato describes the ideal ruler, the philosopher-king, someone who isn't driven by power or pride, but by truth, by light, by the desire to see the world as it truly is. He tells us that the philosopher is like someone who's been asleep their whole life, but then, slowly, begins to wake. They step out of the cave, They leave behind the illusions, the shadows, the noise, and they rise into the brightness of understanding. It's not a loud awakening, not a sudden jolt, but a gentle, growing awareness, like the soft blue light that comes just before sunrise. And as the world comes into view, the philosopher begins to see everything differently. Where others see appearance, they see essence. Where others react, they reflect. Where others cling to opinion, they seek knowledge. To those still in the cave, the dreamers of the world, the philosopher may seem strange, even foolish. But Plato says, that's only because they haven't woken up yet. So imagine this, a meadow just before dawn. Everyone else lies asleep beneath the stars, dreaming of what they think is real. And then, one person opens their eyes. They rise quietly. They walk toward the horizon. And there, in the stillness, they are the first to see the sun. That is the philosopher, not above others, but simply awake. To Plato, a true seeker of wisdom isn't lost in illusion. They've stepped beyond the dream of ordinary life. They've begun to see with clarity, not just what is in front of them, but what lies beneath and beyond. They are awake, and because of that, they can lead others gently toward the light. Dreams have moral implications. Let your thoughts slow, like waves washing over smooth stones, and listen to what Plato believed about the soul, and how even our dreams can reveal its condition. In the Republic, Plato tells us that the soul is not just a bundle of thoughts or desires. It is a reflection of our character. When we live wisely, when we are just gentle and in harmony with ourselves, our dreams are more peaceful, more orderly, more light-filled. But when the soul is unbalanced, ruled by appetite, corrupted by greed, or tangled in false beliefs, our dreams become darker, more chaotic, more restless. To Plato, dreams are like a spiritual mirror. They don't lie, they don't flatter. They quietly show us the truth about the state of our inner world, not to shame us, but to give us the chance to return to balance. So imagine this, a still pool of water at night. If the pool is clear, you'll see the stars reflected above, twinkling gently in its surface. But if the pool is stirred, muddy, clouded, unsettled, the stars disappear. The reflection is broken. That is your soul, and your dreams are its reflection. Plato would say, live justly, live wisely, not just for the sake of others, but so that even in sleep, your soul can rest in harmony. Dreams are more than passing images. They echo the condition of your soul. Plato believed that a good life creates good dreams, ones that rise from balance, peace, and inner truth. Your dreams, in their own quiet way, tell the story of who you are becoming. Reality can feel like a dream, and vice versa. Now, let your breath slow again. Let your body sink a little deeper into rest, and ask yourself a question. Have you ever had a dream that felt more real than waking life? Plato thought about this often. In his dialogues, he played with the idea that reality and dreams are not always so different, that what we call real life might be just another kind of dream. To him, the world of the senses, what we see, touch, and hear, is constantly changing, and anything that changes can't be completely real. Truth, true reality, is eternal, still, unchanging. And so, he asked, if dreams can feel real, and reality is always shifting, how do we know we're not just dreaming now? It's not a frightening idea. It's a gentle one, a reminder that we should not take things at face value, that what seems solid may be soft, and what seems fleeting may hold something timeless underneath. So imagine this. You're walking through a quiet field at twilight. The grass brushes against your ankles. The air is filled with the scent of wildflowers and stars just beginning to shine. But suddenly, you wonder, am I dreaming? You pause. You listen. Everything is vivid, detailed, beautiful. But there's something about it that feels delicate, like mist, or music, or memory. That moment of wonder, that soft questioning, is exactly what Plato wanted us to feel, not to confuse us, but to awaken us, to remind us that what we experience isn't always what is real. And sometimes, in the strangest dreams, we may glimpse something true. Plato believed that reality and dreams are not always so far apart. The world may feel real, but it shifts like a dream. And within that dream, the soul is quietly asking, what is true? What is lasting? What lies beyond this moment? Children and dreams of courage, as you breathe in and slowly breathe out. Imagine the dreams of a child. Soft, colourful, full of wonder. But to Plato, they were more than imagination. They were a space for shaping the soul. In his dialogue Laws, Plato tells us that the stories we tell children, even the dreams they begin to have, should be crafted with care. Why? Because dreams can plant seeds. Seeds of bravery, kindness, wisdom, or fear, selfishness, and chaos. He believed that the earliest parts of the soul, the parts still learning how to balance reason and desire, could be gently guided by what a child sees, hears, and dreams. And so, for Plato, raising a just person meant shaping not only their waking life, but their dream life too. So imagine this: a child sleeping peacefully in a sunlit room, their eyes closed, their breath steady. And above their bed, dreams drift like clouds, each one shaped by the stories they've heard, the kindness they've seen, and the hopes they've been given. Those dreams become the roots of who they will one day become. Plato believed dreams are part of our moral foundation. Even in childhood, they reflect and shape the soul. So when we nurture the heart, we help shape the dreams that follow, and through those dreams, a better life begins to unfold. Sleep mirrors death. Let the quiet wrap around you like a blanket. And imagine falling not just into sleep, but into something even deeper, something timeless, something still. Plato, through the voice of Socrates in the Apology, tells us not to fear death. He compares it to a dreamless sleep, one without pain, without confusion, just a soft, endless rest. To Plato, there were two possibilities. Either death is the beginning of another kind of life, a continuation of the soul's journey, or it is a deep, undisturbed sleep from which we never wake. And if it is sleep, then what is there to fear? He said, if anyone fears death, they are showing ignorance. No one knows what death is. It might be the greatest blessing of all. This wasn't said to dismiss grief, but to remind us that we often fear what we don't understand, and that even in the unknown, there may be peace. So imagine this, a vast quiet forest, the wind gently brushing through the trees. You lie beneath the stars, eyes closed, breath slow, and everything begins to fade, not in fear, but in ease. Not an end, but a return, a release. To Plato, sleep was not something separate from the soul. It was a window into the soul's deeper rhythms, and death was not something to dread, but a passage through the quietest kind of sleep. Plato saw death as a peaceful unknown, a sleep without dreams or sorrow. And in that quiet, he believed we might find something precious, freedom from fear, and the chance to rest in the arms of eternity. Dreams as possible prophecy, but rarely. Take another deep breath. Feel your shoulders sink into stillness and let your mind wander through the soft shadows of dreams. Plato was no stranger to mystery. He lived in a world filled with omens, signs, and stories whispered through the veil of sleep. And yet, even in his reverence for the soul, he was cautious. In his dialogue, Timaeus, Plato acknowledged that some dreams, just a few, might carry a kind of divine message, a quiet note from the cosmos, a truth rising up from the soul or drifting down from the heavens. But he warned us, these dreams are rare, and most of what we dream is not prophecy, it is noise, a mirror of the body and its hungers, the mind and its clutter, the heart and its longings. Still, the idea lingered. Could the soul, when the body is resting, tune itself to a higher frequency? Could it reach beyond the visible world and touch something eternal? For Plato, the answer wasn't a hard yes or no. It was a gentle maybe, a maybe wrapped in wonder and discipline. To receive a true dream, a dream with meaning, with guidance, with clarity. Plato believed your soul must be pure, calm, balanced. You must live wisely, live justly, and only then might your dreams echo something sacred. So now, imagine yourself sleeping beside a quiet river. Above you, stars blink softly through the trees. The wind carries nothing but peace. Your thoughts have slowed, your spirit has settled, and in that stillness, a dream comes. Not wild, not confusing, but slow, radiant, full of light. Maybe it's not a vision of the future. Maybe it's not a message from the gods. But maybe it's a whisper from the deepest part of you, the part that knows where you are going, even when your waking mind forgets. Plato would say, cherish such dreams, but do not chase them. They arrive when the soul is ready, not when the body demands. And most dreams, most are the body's wandering thoughts, reflections from a restless sea. But the rare ones shimmer like gold in the dark. And when the thought clears, here's what it means. Plato believed true dreams, those touched by wisdom or divinity, are few and far between. To receive them, the soul must be in harmony. The rest are echoes, and yet, even those echoes can carry beauty. What matters most is not the dream itself, but the life you live before you close your eyes. The body is a prison, dreams are temporary escapes. Close your eyes and let go of the weight of your limbs. Let your hands rest where they are. Let your jaw unclench, let your spine soften, and imagine you are no longer inside your body, not fully, just floating gently above it, as if your soul had loosened its grip for the night. This idea that the soul is more than the body was one Plato carried like a sacred truth. To him, the body was not the soul's home. It was its container, its limiter, its beautiful, fragile prison. In his dialogue Phaedo, Plato speaks through Socrates on the eve of his execution. And in that quiet moment, surrounded by friends, he says something astonishing, that the soul is most alive when it detaches from the needs of the body, from hunger, from pain, from the pull of desire, and that only in moments of true stillness, when the body is silent, can the soul begin to remember where it came from. He believed the soul existed long before birth, and would continue long after death. And in between, it is tied down, restricted, made heavy by flesh, sensation, distraction. But sometimes, just sometimes, in dreams, it slips free, not completely, but enough to wander, enough to rise like mist in the moonlight, enough to remember what it once was, and what it longs to become again. So imagine this, a great bird, wings wide, strong, unafraid, locked inside a golden cage. It sings, it adapts, it learns to live within the bars. But every night, as the world goes still, a breeze flows through the room. The door creaks open just a little, and the bird, your soul, takes flight, if only in dreams. To Plato, these were sacred moments, not because every dream held a prophecy or a grand revelation, but because dreaming was one of the only times. The soul could remember what it felt like to be free, even if only for a little while. He wrote of philosophers training their souls to rise above the body's demands, to treat sleep not just as rest, but as a rehearsal for separation, for release, for clarity, and perhaps that's what you're doing now. Not leaving your body, but loosening its grip. Not escaping the world, but stepping gently into a deeper one. So let's drift further. You are in a field under a moonless sky. Everything is soft, weightless. You feel no hunger, no time, just wind and memory and a whisper of something eternal. Plato would tell you, this is not illusion. This is the soul, remembering itself. And when you wake, you may forget. But the soul never does. Plato believed the body was not the soul's home, only its vessel. And in dreams, when the body rests, the soul has its moment to stretch, to wander, to remember what it once was. You don't need to understand it. You only need to rest and let the soul find its quiet wings. Only the wise interpret dreams correctly. Let your breath become the rhythm of the night. Soft, slow, steady. Let each exhale be a small release of tension, of thought, of the world you carried today. And as your body eases into stillness, your mind begins to open just enough to hear the quiet truths beneath the noise. Tonight, we drift into Plato's thoughts on how to understand the messages that rise while we sleep. You see, Plato did not dismiss dreams, but he did not trust them blindly either. In his dialogue Charmides, he reminds us that interpreting dreams requires more than symbols and signs. It requires a healthy soul, a wise soul, a soul that has been gently shaped by justice, reason, and balance. Because without that inner balance, Plato believed, dreams become muddled, distorted. They reflect not truth, but confusion. So the question becomes, how do you know if a dream holds meaning? How do you know what it's trying to say? Plato's answer was simple, yet difficult. You must become the kind of person who is ready to listen with understanding, not projection. He believed that only those who live with wisdom and virtue, those who seek truth with a quiet heart, can truly hear what their dreams are telling them. For others, dreams are like mirrors in a funhouse. Strange, shifting, exaggerated. They reflect fear, desire, disorder. But for the wise, a dream might be a clear stream, one that shows you yourself as you truly are. Now let your mind drift to a place of quiet, a garden at night. Everything is still. A stone path winds between ancient olive trees, and at the center, a pool of water, perfectly calm and glowing in the starlight. You step closer, you kneel beside it, and as you gaze into the surface, you see not your face, but your soul, its longings, its questions, its truths, rising gently into view. But if you stir the water, even just a little, the image disappears. The message is lost. Plato believed the soul is no different. To understand what it's trying to show you, you must first become still, balanced, patient, and when that stillness arrives, the soul's voice grows clearer than any dream. Plato believed dreams can reveal deep truths, but only to those who are ready to receive them. Not everyone who sleeps understands what they see, but the wise, the balanced, the ones who listen, not grasp. They may find clarity in the quiet. Let your soul become still. Let your thoughts float away. And whatever rises tonight, let it speak softly and without fear. Art and poetry are dreamlike illusions. Settle in. Feel the weight of your body melt into the surface beneath you. Feel your breath slow, as though your soul itself were breathing in and out, in rhythm with the night. Tonight, we turn to something that may seem surprising. Plato's view of art, of poetry, of beauty. He loved beauty, yes. He spoke of it often, called it a doorway to the divine. But the images we create, the paintings, the poems, the music, he approached them with great caution. In the Republic, Plato makes a bold claim. Art is imitation, just a copy, a reflection of a reflection. He believed that what we see in the world around us, trees, rivers, faces, mountains, are already imitations of something deeper, something perfect, something eternal, the forms. And when an artist paints a tree, they are copying the copy, a shadow of a shadow. It's not that the art itself is evil, it's that it can trick us, fool us, lure us into thinking we've found the truth, when all we've done is fallen into another layer of dream. Plato feared the power of poetry, how it could stir the heart, move the soul, without ever guiding it toward wisdom. A poem might make you feel something profound, but that doesn't mean it leads you to the truth. To him, art was like a beautiful dream, enchanting, emotional, but unreliable. And now, let your imagination unfold gently. You are in a grand theatre carved from stone. The air is cool. The stage is lit with soft lanterns, and before you a play begins. The actors speak with passion. Their faces twist in sorrow and joy. The music swells, the crowd leans in, and yet you begin to notice something. The voices are echoes. The faces, masks, the drama, only shadows on a curtain. It feels real. But something in you knows, this is not truth. It is an echo of emotion, a dream someone else created for you. Plato would say, there is beauty here, yes, but do not mistake the beauty for wisdom. Do not confuse the dream for reality. It's not about rejecting art. It's about remembering to wake up, even when the dream is lovely. Plato believed that art and poetry, like dreams, can enchant us, but also mislead us. They stir the soul, but they do not always guide it toward truth. He reminds us to look beyond appearances, to question even the things that move us, and to seek not just feeling, but understanding. Sleep as a symbol of ignorance. Let your mind begin to soften, not in confusion, but in calm. Let your breath carry you inward, where silence speaks more clearly than sound. Tonight, we reflect on an idea that flows through all of Plato's work, sometimes quietly, sometimes boldly. Sleep, he believed, was not only something that happens at night. It could happen all the time, even in daylight, even with eyes wide open. To live without reflection, to accept what you are told without question, to move through the world without wonder or curiosity. This, to Plato, was a kind of sleep, a sleep of the soul. In the Republic, in the Apology, and again in the Allegory of the Cave, Plato returns to this idea again and again. Most people are not awake. They are dreaming through life, believing shadows are reality, thinking that noise is knowledge. He does not say this with cruelty. He says it with urgency, because to awaken, to truly awaken, is to begin the journey toward wisdom. And that journey doesn't start with knowing. It starts with noticing, with asking, with wondering, am I asleep? To Plato, the moment you ask that question, you are already beginning to stir. Let your inner eye begin to open now. You are walking through a busy street. The world is noisy, colorful, moving fast. People rush past you, distracted, speaking without listening. And then you stop. You turn your face to the sky. The light is different. Something quiet stirs in your chest, and suddenly You realize you've been walking in a dream, eyes open, but not seeing, moving, but not feeling. And now you are waking, not because you have all the answers, but because you finally asked the question. Plato would say, most people never pause, never look up, never stop to wonder what they're missing. But if you do, even once, you have already left the dream behind. Plato believed that ignorance is like sleep, comfortable, familiar, but filled with illusions. To awaken is not to know everything, but to begin the search. And in that moment of awakening, the soul begins to see not just what is, but what could be. Dreams and the harmony of the soul. Sink a little deeper now. Feel your body melt into rest. Your breath rising and falling like the tide, soft and slow, unfolding in rhythm with the stillness around you. Plato often spoke of harmony, the delicate balance between the parts of the soul and between the soul and the body. To him, the soul was like a musical instrument. When properly tuned, it produced a life of virtue, wisdom, and peace. But when out of balance, when reason was overwhelmed by appetite, when the body pulled the soul into disorder, that inner music became noise. In his dialogue, Timaeus, Plato explained that even our dreams are shaped by this balance, or its absence. If the body is disturbed by indulgence, by illness, by lack of discipline, the soul cannot rest. It tosses, it twists, it fills our sleep with wild visions, images not from wisdom, but from confusion. But when the soul is in harmony with the body, when desire is quiet, when reason is strong, when health and virtue walk together, then the dreams that rise are clear, peaceful, guided not by chaos, but by truth. Allow your thoughts to settle like dust in still air. You are standing in a chamber of stone and stars. In the center, a tall, ancient harp. At first, it is out of tune. Each note it plays is sharp, jarring, unkind. But then, slowly, you begin adjusting the strings, one by one, until finally, you run your fingers across it, and a soft, perfect chord fills the room. Now, you lie down beside it, and as you close your eyes, your dreams rise like the music. Gentle, flowing, in harmony with the stillness you've created inside yourself. This, Plato believed, is what happens in a soul that lives in balance. Even sleep becomes music. Even dreams become clear reflections. Plato taught that the quality of our dreams reveals the condition of our soul. When the body is disciplined and the soul is in tune, our sleep becomes serene. And in that silence, truth may rise, not as noise, but as song. Philosophy is like dreaming, but waking. The night is quiet now, only the sound of your breathing. Only the soft pull of rest drawing you inward. This is the place where dreams begin. And sometimes, so does wisdom. To most of the world, the philosopher seems odd, out of place, detached, always lost in thought, asking questions when everyone else just wants to move on, searching for meaning when others are content with comfort. But to Plato, this appearance was an illusion. He believed that the philosopher the seeker of truth, is not asleep in a dream. They are the only ones who are truly awake. In the Republic, Plato describes how most people live among shadows, never questioning the source of what they see. But the philosopher, they are like someone who has opened their eyes, not just to the world outside, but to the world within. Where others accept, they inquire. Where others follow, they pause. Where others live in the flicker of false light, the philosopher turns toward the sun. And because of this, they seem strange, as if they're out of step with the world. But really, they are stepping beyond it, not lost in a dream, but slowly waking up from one. Let yourself see this now, clearly and quietly. You are in a crowded room. Everyone is laughing, talking, rushing from one thing to the next. Screens glow, clocks tick, voices echo. But in the middle of it all, you close your eyes, and suddenly, you hear something. A rhythm beneath the noise, a question rising in your chest. You open your eyes again, but now you see differently. The colors are softer, the movement slows, and something inside you has shifted. You are not dreaming, you are beginning to wake. Plato would say, this is what it means to live philosophically, to awaken not from sleep, but from illusion, to question not just the world around you, but the one inside you. And in that questioning, a deeper kind of seeing begins. Plato believed that the philosopher is not asleep, but fully awake. To others, they may seem like dreamers, but they are the ones turning toward the light, not to escape the world, but to truly see it, and to understand themselves within it. The good is like the sun that wakes us up. Let your breath carry you now to the edge of sleep. That quiet threshold where thought softens and dreams begin to glow behind your eyes. Here, in this stillness, we meet one of Plato's most radiant ideas. In the Republic, at the end of his great Allegory of the cave, Plato speaks of something greater than knowledge, greater even than truth. He calls it the good, the source of all light, the reason we see it all. Just as the sun makes it possible for our eyes to see, Plato says the good makes it possible for our soul to understand. Without it, we are lost in shadows, confusing echoes for truth, mistaking appearances for wisdom. But with it, we begin to wake, and not just wake, but see. The good is not a person, not a place, not a god or a fact. It is the purest essence of what is right, what is beautiful, what is whole. It is what the soul longs for, even when we don't know how to name it. It is the sun beyond the cave, the light behind the dream, the warmth that stirs us from illusion and calls us home. Now close your eyes and feel this. You are deep underground, in a quiet cavern carved by time. Around you, walls of stone, flickers of firelight, faint whispers of voices you've always known, but somewhere, far ahead, a golden glow begins to rise, not sudden, not sharp, just warm, inviting, endless. You follow it. Step by step, the shadows fall away. The air grows softer. And then you emerge. The sun is rising, not just in the sky, but in you. That, Plato believed, is the journey of the soul. to rise from the darkness of sleep and illusion, and to awaken in the light of what is truly good, not once, but again and again, each time we question, each time we wonder, each time we turn toward what is real. Plato believed that beyond all dreams, beyond all thought, there is something eternal, a light that brings understanding and peace. He called it the good. And he believed that every soul, even in sleep, is quietly moving toward it. You've now journeyed through 20 reflections, 20 dreamlike steps through the philosophy of Plato. Whether you are still awake or drifting softly into sleep, know this: you are not lost. You are not alone. You are simply traveling, gently and slowly, toward the light.